it would be better to start. Yeah.
So let us start the proceedings. I'm very happy today that we have Dr. Vineet Gahalaut with us. He's a very old friend of mine. So he really agreed upon to my request immediately, just before 1 week. He also professional career from IIT Roorkee itself. So he served as a lecturer for 2 years at the Department of Earthquake Engineering, and then he joined NGRI, Hyderabad, and his research interest mostly lies on to understand the crustal deformation that include tectonic geodesy and the seismology. And he has many things to his credit. For example, he has established several GPS stations across India in different tectonic domains. So to monitor crustal deformation, basically. And currently, he is the director of Wadia Institute of Himalayan Geology. And before that, he served as chief scientist at NGRI since 1999. In between, he also served as a I don't know as some special appointee at the MOES, I think, in earthquake science. And he's a recipient of several awards, to name a few, like INSA Medal for Young Scientists, CSIR Medal for Young Scientists, etc. And he's a fellow of all the 3 academies of India: Indian Academy of Sciences, Bangalore, Indian National Academy of Sciences, and National Academy of Sciences. So now we are sure we can understand that the magnanimity, the volume of the work, I'm sure that he has done in his entire career, or is almost from 95, at least 30 years after his PhD. He has voluminous work to talk about. But today he has taken up a very I think the most important part that is currently engaged in, I think. So he will talk today about current state of strain rate in India plate. So I will not waste more time with that. So the platform is yours, Dr. Vineet. You can go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Shantanu, and thanks a lot for inviting me of this wonderful platform. And I must say that this is we should have several of such kind of platform. I'm not aware whether how many platforms are there where people keep good good lectures and some on specific problem or in specific discipline. So in that way, I really appreciate this effort. Secondly, I must thank all my students, all my collaborators who have worked with me in past 25, 30 years. And all the institutes who have supported me for this. And one thing which I must say here is that the kind of research which which I do is generally is only possible when you join a research institute. If you are in an academic institute, then probably you don't get this much time, you don't get this much of funding, you do not get this much of support from while you are at academic institute. Running a network, in research institute is much more easier than running it from an academic institute. So in that way, me shifting from academic to research institute, so that way it helped me. It helped me developing this network. It helps me in expanding these studies all over India. So I thank all my students. I hope some of my students have joined. Uh, this is a brilliant, like Shantanu Mishra, Shantanu Bose here, a lot of people here, DKM sir. But then there are some people who work through data, so they collect data and then they try to. So the data teaches them to do research rather than getting new idea. Doing any theoretical work or that kind of work. So I have been basically whatever I have done is only through data collection. So that's only through the physical work rather than any any mental work. So that's how I would like to begin. So it's mostly the database work, and the first slide which you see here is that these are some of the stations, GPS stations all over India. For example, that on top left, there's a this was a station at Barren Island, at volcanic. You remember the only volcano we have, but unfortunately, the station was stolen by smugglers, by poachers. And then we have several stations in Andaman Nicobar, Garhwal Kumaon region, and the top right
Hello, sir.
figure,
Hello.
the huge monument which you
Sir,
see
sorry to interrupt, sir.
is a monument of.
Hello.
It's called GTS, Great Triangulation Survey monument, which is somewhere close to Ahmedabad.
Hello, sir.
And you,
Hello.
I know there's one close to Calcutta. There's one such monument, and this monument is almost like 3-story tall building. So that shows. Shantanu, any issue?
Hello, sir. Sorry. Yeah, sir. Sorry to interrupt, sir. There has been some problem in in your audio. Many people are reporting some problem in the audio. Just a minute, sir. I don't know why.
Okay, let me do. No. I think there could be a possibility. So let me join. Let me do it. Do the audio through mobile phone, because that's much clear. Just give me a minute.
That would be better, sir.
I think. Yes. Just a minute. So I'll switch off.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Right, sir. Yeah.
Perfect.
Excellent.
Yes. Yeah. Clear.
Okay, good. So I think that's the better mode. Wow, technology. Huh? Okay. So these are the stations what we have, and I said you did not miss anything in the first slide. So these are all stations. Most of them they're owned by us. All these stations here in Northwest Himalaya they're also owned by us. Indo-Burmese Arc, all our work. Then of course on top of it now, Survey of India has put several stations, almost like 1,000 stations, but mostly in the stable part of India. And these stations are not very old. So these data, as of now, they may not be good for estimating plate motion, not good for estimating deformation. For deformation estimation, you need at least 5 to 6 years of data from plate interior regions and at least 4 years data from plate boundary regions, because then only you get the good sense of velocity, or you get the robust and reliable estimate of velocity. Anyway, so these are the stations what we have, and these are almost like these data have been processed from 1,600 GPS sites all around India and within India and outside. And that's how Indian plate moves. So Indian plate moves at a rate of about 5 centimeter per year. And it's mind you, you guys are all. I must confess here that I'm talking to most of you guys are from structural geology. So and I always get scared when I speak to structural geologists, because I do agree and acknowledge that their understanding is much better than what we only talk about current deformation, whereas these guys who are in structural geology, they talk current as well as the wholesale deformation, or even at micro level. So that's how Indian plate moves, and as I said that the Indian plate does not move linearly; it actually rotates. So there's an Euler pole, which you all understand, I hope, and it rotates around that with respect to that Euler pole, and because the Euler pole is somewhere in Europe, so that's why the motion here is slightly less than the motion here, because the plate rotates, and it's this motion here. It only shows that kind of Tibetan Plateau, not extrusion, but Tibetan Plateau flow towards east, and then you enter into that, and this is what you see. And to us, this was the biggest surprise. This is the biggest surprise for, I'm sure, for many of us who are involved into to understand the dynamics of ADFB, which is Andaman, Delhi Aravalli Delhi Fold Belt or Kutch Field Rift. And the Kutch Field Rift. And what you see here is that it appears as if this part here, I have started calling it as Rajputana block. Of course, there's a word Rajputana block. Some geologists they have used it, especially I guess Ram Swarup Sharma ji has used this word Rajputana block, and Rajputana blocks appears to be moving slower than the rest of the Indian plate, and it is moving slower by almost like 1 to 1.5 millimeter per year. And look at the consequence of it. So that because of slower movement here, you have a lot of earthquakes here. Of course, they're not big. They're all moderate or not even strong magnitude size, but there's plenty of earthquakes here in Delhi Aravalli Fold Belt. Remember Mount Abu earthquake. Remember there were few earthquakes here close to Ajmer, and there were many earthquakes which have occurred in Delhi region, including the 1720 earthquake during Mughal period, which occurred somewhere, which damaged Kashmiri Gate area. Even there was an earthquake in 1960, I guess, which was again a moderate magnitude earthquake somewhere here. So this region has produced moderate magnitude earthquakes, and they're all clustered here. Don't get deceived by a large cluster. If you look at that map at National Center of Seismology or some of the maps by several people, so there's a good cluster here, but the good cluster of earthquakes there. But the problem is that we have a huge, very good network in around Delhi, so that's why we have lots of earthquakes there. You put, I'm sure that if you expand your network, cover it nicely all along ADFB, I'm sure you will start seeing earthquakes everywhere. So what happens is that this region is moves slower, and then it causes kind of sinistral motion in ADFB, and that's what is consistent with the if you look at the stress regime using fault plane solutions of all these earthquakes here on ADFB and Aravalli Delhi fold belt, then you get a sense that ADFB is experiencing sinistral motion. Many of the fault plane solutions are not well constrained, so I must warn you that please be careful while picking up the fault plane solutions to get the stress regime for this region. Now, slower movement here. Ultimately, what will it do? Ultimately, it's ending somewhere here. Of course, I can't guarantee as to where exactly it ends because of limited network. I don't have stations at my desire. I mean, there are 15 or 20 stations here, but even that network is sparse, I would say. But what happens is here is a slower motion of Rajputana will ultimately cause stress on this region. Imagine that Indian plate is moving faster, and this part is moving slower. So ultimately, this region, Kutch Failed Rift, will experience more stress, and that's the reason because of which we have 2 successive earthquake in less than 200 years in Kutch Failed Rift region. In fact, amongst all failed rift region of India, whether it's Kutch Failed or Godavari or Narmada zone, Kutch Failed Rift is the most productive earthquake productive failed rift in India. Probably not in the world, because we have other failed rifts which are much more productive. You can look at this is the maximum shear showing daxial sinistral motion. This is the maximum shear showing principal axis of strain, and they're all consistent. Look at the principal axes here. These are beautifully consistent with the fault plane solution of for example Anjar, or fault plane solution of 2001 Bhuj earthquake. Of course, we do not know much about 1819, but we believe that it was a reverse slip earthquake. So that means, and mind you, we have not used the fault plane solution here. These are strain derived from current deformation of last 10 years. So the current deformation is telling you that it is consistent with the tectonics of the region. I was hoping to see more something here, but because of limited network here across Narmada zone, or because of limited network here across Godavari, we're not able to see these regions of higher strain. But I'm sure that with time, when somebody puts network here, we have a good network here. We have 8 station network here across Godavari. So I'm hoping that by next year, in fact, by end of this year, I'll start putting a more colorful map for Godavari also. This is another interesting part. Fantastic. So what you see here is the two deformation you are seeing. One is the deformation from Grace. You remember lots of people have worked on Grace, looking at deformation in the region, and correlating it with the fluid water extraction, groundwater extraction. The arrows, up arrows here, up arrows or down arrows here, are derived from GPS, and the color here is derived from Grace. And what you see here is that there's hardly any, except this place, there's a station here at Machilipatnam, where the site seems to be subsiding at very high rate, more than 7 or 8 millimeter per year. But this could be an isolated region. It could be an isolated place, isolated benchmark, which is subsiding. The subsidence here is all because of delta. So an entire delta is settling down. So that's why you see large subsidence here. Again, these data are of more than 5 years to 10 years of data. So these are reliable numbers. But look at here, there's hardly any vertical deformation. There's hardly any vertical deformation here, right? But look at these vectors here. Now this is where the grace tells that, look, you have maximum groundwater extraction. And imagine what a groundwater extraction will do. Groundwater extraction is basically you are unloading the lithosphere. You're unloading the crust. And by unloading, what it will do is, because of buoyancy, it will come up. And that's what is shown here. Forget, don't worry about this vector, because here there's some role of tectonics. But look at vector Delhi, Sri Ganganagar, Jaisalmer, Jaipur. This is it this probably this is Jodhpur, this is Jaisalmer. Here there's something else. I'll come to that later on. But then these data also tell you about not just tectonics, but about other processes, including fluid extraction. So what I'll do now is I'll take.
Hello, can I interrupt, Vineet?
Yes.
Can you use the highlighted cursor so that cursor will be visible? Sometime I think.
Point interruption. Is that good?
Which one? Cursor? I don't see the cursor.
We don't see the cursor.
Yeah, cursor I can see, but yeah, that is fine. Yeah.
Now it's fine.
Now
is it good? Okay.
Yeah. I think that might make things visible. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Fine.
Thanks. Okay. So now what I'll do is I'll try to give you a snapshot of 3 very typed region. One from plate boundary, one from failed lift, and one from stable continental. So I'll show you how the current deformation is taking place in the plate boundary region, in the failed rift region, and in the stable continental region. You have seen the wholesale deformation. It does not show any deformation. The deformation is less than, in fact, points issue. I mean, stable continental regions are notorious. Plate bound regions are well behaved, and they show up large deformation. But then, so if an earthquake occurs, it's not a surprise. But stable continental region, they deform extremely slowly, and lots of people say that they sometimes sleep, they sometimes become active, they get reactivated, then they go dormant. So there's a lot of time variation in the deformation in stable continental region. So that's why earthquakes like Kilari earthquake or Latu earthquake become surprise, because the region does not show any deformation, that the region does not show any geomorphological signature. For example, Kilari, there's hardly any well-defined geomorphological structure which you can relate to Kilari. Mind you, earthquake was very shallow. It was less than 5 kilometer. Okay. I'm sorry, there's something wrong. Okay, sorry. The problem with the you're able to hear me, right?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. No. Because I'm using the voice from mobile, so there was somebody calling. Okay. So I'll just show 3 type region: one from plate boundary, and then Kutch Rift, and then stable continental region, Koina. Okay, so these are the vectors. These are the vectors here in Garhwal Kumaon. We have the best network in Garhwal Kumaon amongst anywhere in the Himalayan region. Our Garhwal Kumaon network is the best because we have more than 30 stations in Garhwal Kumaon alone. And to understand this, you need to slightly understand how Himalayan tectonics work. So you have, if you look at this region, if you take a cross section, so there is a main Himalayan thrust here, along which is a contact surface between Himalayan wedge here and the subducting under thrusting Indian plate here. So you expect the motion to be very large here, and that's what I intend to show. So,
sir, excuse me,
yeah.
I think slides not moving.
Slides are not moving.
That's what I feel.
Okay. Yeah. Suddenly, what happened? So, is it moving now? Do you see Garhwal Kumaon Himalaya now?
No. No, this is the part, I think. Now it's Gaur Command. Yeah.
Oh, it's delayed. Now I'm not in Garhwal Kumaon. I'm in Garhwal Kumaon.
No. This is the flow path. Yeah, this is Garhwal Kumaon.
Okay, so it got delayed. It got delayed probably. So this is Garhwal Kumaon, right? Okay,
Yeah.
good. So these stations, and that's the beauty of this whole game, that it takes you to beautiful places. This is a site at Yamunotri, very close to the pilgrimage site, and this is taking for last 15 years, more than 15 years, 20 years now. And what you see here is the results from.
Could you please make it to slide mode?
Yeah, that's the problem. That once I make it to slide mode, then do you see it now? Is it moving? Do you see a graph now?
Perfect.
Okay, good. Okay. So,
Yeah, voice.
आवाज का problem.
आप ठीक है?
Voice.
It's okay. Yeah. It's a Garhwal Kumaon Himalaya.
Garhwal Kumaon Himalaya. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, please interrupt me when you have voice problem. Okay.
That's how I'm doing.
Thanks.
Sorry.
So these are the vectors from that network, and what you see here is that the sites here in the Indo-Gangetic plain, they're not moving much. We have few sites here, but then as you move towards north, the velocity increases. So these are the vectors with respect to India. You remember I showed a plot in which all sites were moving towards India. So that's the reference frame I'm using. So all these sites are moving towards south, towards the Indo-Gangetic plain, and as you move towards north, the amount of the vector size increases, and that's a clear signature of strain accumulation. That's what elastic rebound theory says. So if you plot them on a profile, you take a profile here, and if you plot it, can you see the graph now?
Yes.
Yeah, I changed this. Why did that pointer option change? Okay, now. So you see this, that now this is a curve which you get if you log the main Himalayan thrust under the Garhwal Kumaon region. So trust me, if you log that fault and you deform it elastically, then this is the curve which you will get. The bold curve here, this is the curve you will get. And look at the fit between the observations and the curve here. So this is the clear signature of strain accumulation, because I have logged the main Himalayan thrust here, and you see the consistency between the observations and the predicted curve. And how much is the strain? So this is what you expect. If there was no friction, then entire Himalaya is coming towards you. So this you will see an offset, which is what geologists, structural geologists, they say that the Holocene rate is of about 80 millimeter per year. When you look at the MFT, so this is what you expect to see. So how much is the strain? Now that's the strain that this region, which should have, if there was no friction, then this vector should have been here. But then there's a displacement deficit of this much on yearly basis. And this is a displacement deficit which is accumulating. And this is the cumulative displacement deficit will recover during the earthquake. And that's the reason and that's how you will see a long-term Holocene rate, at least recent rate of 18 millimeter to 20 millimeter per year on MFT. This is the reason because of which all the paleoseismologists, they run towards main front and thrust to look at the signature of these big earthquakes, because this large strain is not going to be released by these small magnitude earthquakes like Uttarkashi or Chamoli or Pithoragarh or Dharchula or Dharamshala. It's going to be released by really large earthquake, large magnitude earthquake of magnitude more than 8 sometimes. So that's the strain. That this is what the elastic rebound theory tells us that, and as you move towards higher Himalaya, the strain decreases, and of course we all know that rupture remains confined for all these earthquakes. Rupture remain confined into outer and lesser Himalaya, including part of higher Himalaya. So the largest slip which is going to occur, which occurs, is in the outer Himalaya, in the Shivaliks. And you can do a lot of fancy things for this. You can find out as to how much is the slip, how much is the slip deficit, and things like that. But the picture which you will all like to see is how much is the locking. So you can convert this into a locking on the main Himalayan thrust as to how strong it is locked, how weakly it is locked. So for example, here all the dark colors here. Can you see the dark colors? Can you see my cursor? Right. Okay. So this is where the fault is perfectly locked. Locking is 1 here. So that we do some kind of normalization, and locking 1 is perfectly locked. And as you move towards north, by the time you are close to physiographic transition or close to main central thrust is slightly northward. But as you move, as you are close to the lesser Himalaya, northern lesser Himalaya, the locking starts fading out, and that's what all these earthquakes they tell us. All the ruptures here, they're all confined. Big earthquake rupture, they're all confined here. Big earthquakes don't occur in Himalaya, in trans-Himalayan region or region north of main central thrust. They all occur here. So that's what these observations they tell us. So from take-home message from Garhwal Kumaon, we have strain accumulation rate of about 17 or 18 millimeter per year. So that's the slip deficit which is occurring. This is the strain accumulation which is occurring, which will be recovered during the next big earthquake. And it's nicely locked. And of course, the other thing which we have started seeing is that the effect of ridge subduction. There are a lot of talk on ridge subduction nowadays. So this is Delhi Hardwar ridge, basically Aravali Delhi fold belt, which we assume that it is subducting in beneath the Himalaya. And we have started seeing some low coupling here, and that's what we have learned from subduction zone. All the seamounts, all the fractures, when they go into enter into a subduction zone, they cause low coupling because of fractured nature of these ridges or these seamounts or these ridges. Anyway, so this is one snapshot from the Himalayan region. And of course, I must remind you a number here that shear strain rate is about 70 nano strain per year. That's what you expect in convergent plate margin. About 100 nano strain per year is the convergent is the strain rate in most of these convergent plate margins. Now let me go to another region, which is Kutch Failed Rift. Quickly, so these are the vectors. In fact, the vectors are more than shown here. I'll show in the next slide. So this is the region I'm talking. This is the region I'm talking, and these are the vectors. So we have almost like 20 stations here. It's these stations are run by ISR, Indian Seismological Research, Indian Seismological Research Center. What ISR? Something I'm probably forgetting some word here. Anyway, so if you remove the Indian plate motion, then this is what you see, that all these vectors, they are moving towards Kutch Rift, and some of the vectors here, many of these vectors here, they are moving towards Kutch Rift. So there's a northward motion here. So what you're seeing is basically a compression occurring across Kutch Rift. And where from this compression coming? That's the answer we were looking for, when we published this paper, and that's the answer we have got now from our large network all over India. That Rajputana block is moving slower than rest of the India. Now, if you try to model it, if you want to see it in a profile, then this is how the profile look like. So if you draw a profile here, then this is Saurashtra. This region is Saurashtra. As you enter into the failed rift, the motion decreases. I'm looking at the northward motion, right? So the motion becomes southward. So you see a gradual change in the motion, and this is the clear cut signature of compression across this rift. Now, if you put a slip on these two faults, for example, here, Kutch Mainland Fault or Alaban or the Nagar Parker or the Island Belt, then these are the curves which you will get, and these curves are again consistent with the observations. So you have clear signature of compression across Kutch Failed Rift. You can estimate the strain rate here, and the strain rate is about 1 to 2 nanostrain per year here. Remember, the strain rate there is about 100 nanostrain in the Himalayan region. I come to the last snapshot, which is Koina, which is here, and we have a beautiful network there. We have 6 stations, in fact, across Koina-Wana region, across Koina-Wana seismic zone, which is here. That's the Koina-Wana seismic zone. And these are 6 stations. And the motion which you are seeing here is with respect to India. And mind you, look at the scale here. It's this much is 1 millimeter per year. So there's some remnant Indian plate motion. So then there are some magic which you do with these vectors. You define a local reference frame, and if you define a local reference frame, then these red vectors are the residual vectors, residual motion here. And can you imagine, the residual motion is less than 0.2 millimeter per year across Koina-Wana region. Now, people think that Koina-Wana region is very productive. There are a lot of earthquakes keep occurring, but the fact is, the region is not deforming much. The region is deforming at a rate of 0.2 to 0.3 millimeter per year at the most. And this is not a surprise when you see it globally. Even the New Madrid, which is much more productive than this one, deforms at a rate of about 0.2 to 0.4 millimeter per year. So that's why these intraplate regions are notorious. They deform very slowly. These are more than 10 years of data. These stations were installed in 2013, and right now we are in 2025. So these are almost like 12 years of data, and in 12 years you get a good handle on the site velocity, and that good handle tells you that it's only 0.2 to 0.3 millimeter per year. So that's the difference between a failed rift, a stable continental, and a convergent plate margin. That's how these deformation rates, they vary. You can model them, and the modeling tells you that, look, the fault could be still slipping at a rate of about 2 millimeter per year, causing this kind of these earthquakes and causing surface deformation of less than 0.2 millimeter per year. I'll not go into the detail of how the because that will take one more talk to understand the intraplate deformation of Koina-Warna region. But the now the final, almost like final slide here is that look at the Galwal Kumaon. The strain rate is about 70, about 100. Kutch field lift, it's about 1 to 2. And Koina-Warna is less than 1 nanostrain per year. Seismic strain is very high here, and very low here. So you clearly see a correlation between seismic strain and the geodetic strain. And that's what that kind of reaffirms that geodetic observations can be used to understand the deformity, to understand the seismic hazard, to understand the productivity, earthquake productivity of a region, and that's the next goal which we have set for ourselves. That forget about these seismic. Look at our earthquake history is very small, but since we are now building up good database on GPS. So let's start using the geodetic strain rate to replace the stress map or the seismic zonation map. So let's start using the strain rate for seismic zoning map, and that's our next target. So that's the summary. You all know what I'm talking, right? High strain, moving from very high strain to failed lift region, moderate strain, very low strain to extremely low strain in the stable contour region. I think I'll stop here, and time for any queries if I can answer. Thanks for being with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Vineet.
Thank you, sir.
For an extensive work that you have shown here, and it's a work of several years, I know. So the thing is, now the platform is open for discussion.
Professor Anupam has raised the hand.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, Anupam sir, please go ahead, sir.
Yes, please go ahead, Anupam.
Sir, you are muted. Yeah.
Now is it? Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear. I can.
Yeah, Dr. Gahalaut, excellent talk. Really interesting for all of us. I have just one question. Is that you are showing the Kutch fail rate, and as you are mentioning, and that also we see in the literature that there is generally a compression right now across the Kutch tip, and that's why majority of our slip kind of fault behavior. But at the same time, there are some faults in the southern part of Kutch, possibly just north of the Kutch mainland fault. That I think that is called Samiakhali Basin or something, just near the Bhuj earthquake epicenter. There, people are showing in recent many papers that there are some seismic faults which are showing a recent means, of course, post-quaternary or late quaternary deformation in a deck. Those kind of movements not match. So some people like talking about that there is some situation in Kashmir zone.
Yeah, I agree with your question, but if unfortunately I don't have a strain analysis localized only for this slides. But if you dive, if you estimate from the data, you can explain all the reverse slip way, but then you can also estimate the analysis which are here, and you will find that all these fault planes, all the planes derived from crustal strain are consistent with the fault solution. So there's not some compression here. Depending upon you take a plane rather than making it absolutely head on, you slightly rotate the plane, then the same plane can with slight modification of stress because of other small stress contribution, then fail in the axle or in system manner. So the strain barrier is consistent with. You don't need to have a block rotation. Block rotation will require if this north-south compression is rather than on dextral plane, on the same plane the sinistral slip occur, or on the or because of this compression rather than on sinistral plane the dextral slip occur. Then you need to operation. But as of now, with this you don't need to
Yeah, absolutely. But just that is why I was asking that according to your data, because you have a lot of plate vector and strain data there. So my question is that do you perceive that the say the sigma h, that is the horizontal maximum compressive stress in Kutch region, is it perfectly north-south or it is not 20 degree east?
No, it's about not 20 degree north. It is quite. It's not perfectly north-south. It's sort of north 20, north 30 degree east.
Not
Yes.
23. That is generally they say. Now
That's right.
in that situation, the South Wagad fault or the Kutch mainland fault are supposedly in an orientation where they should show some kind of a sinistral slip. But people like, say, geomorphology and other people, I mean, people have worked, even I think the Professor Thakkar and others also, they are showing in some of their papers that they are showing a dextral kind of, related landforms, so dextral slip related land.
Yeah, one of the problem which I always feel in Kutch Field Rift region is the is to differentiate between the paleo deformation from the current deformation. The paleo deformation, when there was rifting going on, rifting had just started, and the stress condition at that time. So the structures which were formed during that time, and the structures which you are, if they are really soft sediment deformation, which we assume that they are in response to the compression. So there's a lot of issue in differentiating these structures, whether these are manifestation of current deformation or it's a manifestation of old deformation, right? So that's also one of the issue. But if you look at
they are not exactly showing absolutely. I mean, the deformation, of course, it is not possible to show geological deformation of last, say, 10, 15 years, but they are showing late quaternary, maybe possibly, say, 1,000 year or so, that history. So obviously that may differ from last 10, 12 years of this strain rate or this stress orientation. That is possible. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
And I have just, please.
Yeah, it's okay. I think
I have another one small question before I finish. That is because I live right on the Delhi Haridwar ridge. I mean, 100 meters from my house, from where I'm talking. This ridge goes down. The Aravalli ridge goes down under the ground, and it is possibly continuing as the Delhi Haridwar ridge. So now we get a lot of earthquakes in and around Delhi, as you very much know, and then generally people have a perception that this Delhi Haridwar ridge locking under the Himalayas is activating some faults which are around in Delhi, and they are giving this kind of earthquake. But you are showing that it is because of this lower motion of the ADFB which is possibly causing this earthquake. So that's that right. I wanted to understand a bit from you.
Yeah, I mean that's to us also it was a surprise. If you look at the strain map generated from all this data, you clearly see that this region is showing anomalous. I mean, I cannot trust this small region because there's not much data here, but there's a lot of data here, and it clearly shows that this region is anomalous. And the only way, we talk about these Kutch Rift. The whole idea is that where from the strain energy is being pumped into Kutch Rift, right? Yeah. So that's the we all talk about earthquakes in Kutch Rift, it's reactivation of faults, but there must be some energy which is continuously being pumped into Kutch Rift, causing so many earthquakes. So the source of that strain must be there must be some source of strain pumping, and to me the source of strain pumping is the slower movement of Rajputana block with respect to rest of the Indian region.
Okay.
And it is absolutely consistent with the overall fault plane solution in the ADFB here.
Okay. Thank you.
I cannot guarantee that whether the entire motion across ADFB is seismic. It is possible that some of the relative motion between the two across ADFB is seismic. So that's the reason because of which we don't have a history of big earthquakes in ADFB. But most of the earthquakes are moderate to strong magnitude earthquakes.
Yeah, we generally do not consider ADFB as a zone of high seismicity or something. That is something very interesting to know. And just by coincidence, we have, because I have been working in the Precambrian for a long time on the structure of Precambrian fails. So in the Aravalli Delhi fold belt, even the Precambrian major shear zones are all sinistral, and we are also again showing that these are all giving a sinistral motion. That is coincidence possibly, but very interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, Neptunda, please. Thank you.
Okay, Professor Gahalaut, thank you very much for a very illuminating and very interesting talk. I could not even perceive how this 1 hour passed. I don't remember when was the last time I heard an entire 1 hour lecture with so much attention. So thank you very much. I had one question. You showed a slide in which you showed the distance from main frontal thrust and the side velocity in millimeters per year. And you showed how the side velocity increases as the distance from the main frontal thrust increases. Yes.
So can you see? That's the one? Yeah.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah. So near Auli, you can see that, there's a break in this curve.
Yes.
So I just wondering what is the significance of that?
Okay, so the curve has been generated assuming MHT to be perfectly logged. So this is this break here, this slight break here. It actually tells you where the seismogenic MHT ends and where the seismically creeping MHT starts. Right. So this is in a way it is kind of an artifact of the simulation. In nature, you will not see this kind of curve. It will be very smooth. But since we in this particular case we are using a constant sort of a perfectly logged MHT, right, and then perfectly creeping MHT. So perfectly logged MHT is right up to Oli, right up to this place, up to Munsiari, right up to almost like PT2 or right up to close to MCT, and further north the MHT is creeping. But then in the next, so this is the first iteration to estimate the convergence rate, because that's what I require for my next modeling. But if you look at here, this is I'm sorry. Here I'm assuming that locking can vary with distance. So this my previous assumption that the locking was perfect here has kind of a little bit challenged by this, but the region here in the Shivaliks in the outer Himalaya or most of southern Himalaya, most of southern lesser Himalaya is all perfectly locked. So if I draw if I show a curve again, it will not show that abrupt kink which you are seeing in the earlier plot.
No, actually, no. I mean, you must be very well aware of it, that there's always a controversy about placement of MCT, and we talk about Munsiari thrust and Vaikrita thrust, MCT1 and MCT2. And looking at your curve, it appears that between the area between MCT1 and MCT2, that engulfs the Munsiari group and the Vaikrita group, there's really a very smooth progression. But there's a break. I guess it's roughly along the Munsiari thrust. I was wondering whether you can use something like this curve to delineate what we call the MCT in the Himalayas. And in this case, the southern one, the MCT1 or the Munsiari should be the MCT, not the commonly accepted northern one, the Vaikrita thrust, as we don't see any break between the two. Your
Yeah,
comments, please.
you're raising a question which honestly I cannot answer for the simple reason because for us, when it comes to large strain, when it comes to large earthquakes, then for us it's the main Himalayan thrust which becomes important. These main central thrust, main boundary thrust, they don't play much in the overall in the current deformation, because if you look at the earthquakes, if you look at the ruptures of all big large earthquakes, they're all governed by nature of MST, the rheology of MST at subsurface. Um, yes, of course, there could be some out of sequence earthquake which can uh, occur on for example the Kashmir earthquake, right? 2005 Kashmir earthquake, which was kind of out of sequence earthquake. So there could be an earthquake which can tell you whether MCT1, MCT2, or Vakrita, how are they active. But when it comes to looking at large scale deformation, looking at deformation in the wholesale, then you don't see any. We don't give much importance to MCT1 or MCT2 or even PT2. For us, it's all main Himalayan thrust, which is the seat of for all these big earthquakes. Even for small earthquakes, if you look at the cross sections, all these even small earthquakes, they all occur at the base of seismogenic MST. So they have in that sense, they have nothing much to do with MCT1 or MCT2. In fact, if you look at this plot, it's also MCT, which is plotted here from, I think this is from Ganser. It's all they're all sometimes they are in some regions sometimes they're north of MCT, sometimes they're south of MCT. So but the only thing which we derive from this is that the occurrence of these earthquakes, they define the base, the bottom of the seismogenic active MST. It may or it may not coincide with the surface traces of one MCT2 or Vakrita thrust.
Thank you, Napchunda. I think Dr. Basanti is waiting with
yeah, sir.
a query.
Sir, this is really was a very wonderful talk and very informative, rather. The thing is, am I audible?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know what could be the reason for the deformation in stable continental region as well as in failed rift region. Is it because of the plate motion, only due to plate motion, or any other mechanism is there which is causing this one?
Yeah, that's as I said, stable continental region or failed rift regions are the least understood earthquakes. We have fairly good idea about subduction zones, about convergent plate margins, or even divergent plate margins. Of course, we don't have much idea about divergent plate margins because we don't have deformation as to how the deformation is occurring. But amongst the plate boundary, convergent plate margins, including subduction zones, are well understood. But our knowledge about as to how the stable continental region, including failed rift region, how they deform, is very limited. And it's only through data which we try to fit into observation as to how this how the deformation is taking place. So unfortunately, even now we have, fortunately for plate bound region, we have fantastic elastic rebound theory which explains everything, right? The elastic rebound theory cannot be applied in a stable continental region because there's no long distance convergence, across the failed rift or across the stable continental region. So we still don't have a good mechanism or a concept which can explain stable continental region earthquake. That's a
Yeah.
limitation. That's
Yeah.
a limitation. That's honestly, that's a limitation. We only think that it's only a small region which is deforming locally, but
Mhm.
the moment you are out of it, the moment you are away from it, you don't see the deformation. So the rest of the region could be moving as if it is on Indian plate, but it's only the small region which could be deforming very locally, and hence you need larger, more dense observation to actually understand local deformation. The unfortunate thing is that the way people talk is that the stable continental region are the deformation is transient. So in this, it's not necessary the region which has produced large earthquake in past in stable continental region will produce a large earthquake in future, or a region which has produced a large earthquake in past is deforming even now, right? So in that way, stable continental regions are very notorious. They are least understood and very notorious.
Yeah.
That's what
They
we
may
call
not.
them sometimes.
Correct.
Yeah.
They may not behave similarly always.
We
What
always say the deformation is transient and earthquakes are roaming. Earthquakes are roaming in stable continental region. I mean, that's the
Correct.
safest statement people give.
Yeah. And it could be a localized phenomena at that particular point. Yeah. Thank you.
That's right. Yeah.
So I think Basanti is satisfied with your reply. So I
Correct.
think, Dr. Tridip.
Yes. Thank you, sir, for this talk. Just I have one question, that there is a special variation of strain accumulation of Indian plate, right, sir? So, and there is a various thickness, the thickness variation within the Indian plate. So how this thickness variation is related to this strain variation in Indian plate?
I do agree. I agree that now you're coming to a question that when I'm saying that this part is moving, what is it which is causing this part to move slowly, right? And that's where your question comes in. That's where that's where the answer should lie. Whether the strain here is because of rheological differences or because of crustal thickness differences, right? So that's the next question which we are targeting, and fortunately, and we do see that here the effect of plume could be which has altered the thickness here, could be playing some role here. But honestly speaking, as of now, I neither have a very high resolution strain data to satisfy to give you answer in a satisfactory manner. I'm still learning it. Honestly, that's the next part of our learning phase as to how this strain correlates with the lithospheric thickness, with the geological VPVS or different properties, physical elastic properties.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah. But you clearly see it in terms of within intraplate region, we have difficulty. But when the moment there's absolutely no problem when you compare intraplate with interplate region. There, distinction is very obvious. But within intraplate, we have problems.
So several other things are there. Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any more queries from people, or else I will have some query. So the thing is this: if we can I ask?
Yes.
Okay. So the thing is, with this figure that is now showing, so you said, you said,
this one?
Yeah, this one. According to the definition of the plate, If I say the plate, then in that case, the entire plate should move similarly or in the same directions. But since you were saying that there is a difference in the velocity of this Indian plate, do you think that there is something, the formation of microplate sort of thing, or?
Yeah, it's so ultimately it all boils down to I mean, I will not like to say a microplate, but probably blocks, block tectonics rather than, because using the word microplate would be too strong, would be a very strong word. But probably we can talk about block tectonics, that these blocks could be moving with slightly different rate. I mean, it all depends upon at what resolution you're talking about. On an accuracy of almost like 1.5 or 2 millimeter per year, entire plate is moving together.
Yeah.
Right. But then when you have good data, and then good data and good spatial coverage, then you start seeing the difference. That okay, this area is moving slightly different than this region. It's not a huge difference. If I show you this